our divided two-party system is a choice. We can choose to live in our divided country, or we can choose to live in a united country. My sense is that most Americans want to live in a united country, but they don't know how to make that choice. My name is Tedman, and since before I transitioned out of the U.S. Navy in 2019, after 28 years of service as a naval officer, I've been investigating the root cause of our political division. After over a decade of research, I have come to the conclusion that the political division that robs you of having your voice heard or having the power to shape your life, your community, and your world is not a people problem. It isn't caused by the politicians, the parties, the candidates, or you, but you can choose to end that division. Sharing how you can make that choice is my goal for today. I will start by explaining the nature of that choice. Imagine that I had the goal of satisfying the largest number of people I could by delivering one type of pizza. How would I decide what type of pizza I should deliver? I would offer that my best strategy for deciding that would be to listen to all the people in the group to find out what they wanted and then deliver their majority opinion pizza. But this isn't just my best strategy. It's also your best strategy. It's your mom's best strategy. It's everyone's best strategy. So if I, you, and your mom were to all listen to the same people to discover the same answer at the same time, what do you think the odds are that we would all end up offering the same pizza? Now, this probably sounds like common sense, but clearly it is not something we experience in our elections. And having all the candidates offering the same political platform may sound strange. But consider, the candidates are all seeking to represent the same group of voters. And like any group, these voters already possess normally one and only one majority opinion on each and every issue. The candidates don't create these majority opinions. They already exist. They must discover them. And I would offer our elections could be about deciding which candidate is most capable of representing our majority opinions. However, our current voting method allows us to choose only one candidate. We can't say yay or nay to any and all we wish. And because of that, if one candidate does decide to represent our majority opinions, as soon as another candidate establishes their political platform to that candidate's right, the majority opinion candidate loses almost all the voters to their right. And when that happens on the left, they lose almost all their voters to their left. They are sandwiched between the left and right candidates, which means a majority opinion candidate under our current voting method is very likely not to be elected. And under Final Five voting or ranked choice voting, they will very likely be the first candidate to be kicked out by the voting method. In Final Five and ranked choice voting, even though voters submit a ranked list of candidates, it is a list of alternative candidates, and only the one top alternative is ever used by the voting method. I, probably like you, have heard claims that Final Five voting and ranked choice voting allow for more choice, ensure you don't have to choose the lesser of two evils, and open the way for a third party. I have personally reviewed every ranked choice voting election held in San Francisco, San Leandro, Berkeley, Oakland, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Maine, and Alaska, 330 elections in all. Of those elections where ranked choice voting removed at least one candidate, 95% of the time, ranked choice voting reduced the number of choices available to the voter to only two candidates. Of course, you don't have to choose the lesser of two evils. But if you don't, your ballot is thrown out 87% of the time. And one of the two evils ends up winning more than 99% of all ranked choice voting elections. And I have found no evidence of a third party coming into existence when ranked choice voting was used. In fact, in Australia in 1918, ranked choice voting was instituted to keep out minor parties and independents. And it has done so very effectively. The Australian Parliament released a report on the 21st of August, 2007, titled Australian Electoral Systems, stating, quote, preferential voting, which is their term for ranked choice voting, gives a disproportionate advantage to the major parties. The major parties have thus won 99.4% of all House of Representative contests held since 1949. No seat has been won by a minor party candidate, despite 3 reasonably strong minor parties. Unquote. In ranked choice voting elections, the winner receives on average a 55% majority. When a candidate wins a 55% majority, they've demonstrated 2 things. One, they could ignore the 45% minority and still be elected. And 2, they have to effectively represent the 55% majority in order to stay elected. So I believe which voting method we use determines whether our elections are about deciding who we want to represent us or who gets to be represented. Now, I refer to any voting method that restricts voters to only one choice as a min voting method. And this includes final 5 voting, top 4 voting, ranked choice voting, and even our current voting method. And I refer to any voting method that allows all voters to choose or rate all candidates independently of each other as a max voting method. And this includes approval voting, score voting, star voting, and majority judgment voting. As you may not be familiar with these max voting methods, I'll explain them briefly. Please keep in mind, though, that when it comes to ending political division, any max voting method will work equally well. Political division ends not because of what the voters do, but because the candidates are driven toward the majority opinion by the voting method. Approval voting uses the same ballots as we currently have, but voters can select any and all the candidates they wish. The candidate with the most votes wins. And you can visit electionscience.org to discover more. Fargo, North Dakota, the United Nations, and St. Louis, Missouri use this system, and it's growing in popularity in the state of Missouri. Score voting, also known as rate voting, range voting, or cardinal voting, has voters score each candidate on some scale. It can be 0 to 5, -1 to 1, no, maybe, yes, etc. Think Amazon ratings for candidates. The candidate with the highest average or highest total wins. And you should know that all versions of score voting can use the same voting machines that we use today, though the ballots would look a little different. Now you can visit rangevoting.org for more information on score voting. And currently, no governments use a score-based system in their elections, but it exists everywhere else for comparing options. Star voting, which stands for score, then automatic runoff, starts off by allowing all voters to score each candidate on a scale from 0 to 5. The 2 highest scoring candidates are then compared to see which was preferred by the voters most often to find the winner. You can find out more about star voting at equal.vote. Star voting is quickly growing in popularity in Oregon. Majority judgment voting also starts off by allowing all voters to score each candidate on a scale from 0 to 9. Then all the individual scores a candidate receives are lined up sequentially, and the median score, the one in the middle, is compared between candidates. The candidate with the highest median score wins. If there is an even number of votes cast, the lower of the 2 median scores is used. If there's a tie for the highest median score, those median scores of the tied candidates, the other candidates lose at this point, are thrown out and new median scores are compared. And you can find out more about this method at moi, if I'm saying that right, voter.fr. That's MIEUX voter.fr. It's French, but there's an English version at the site. So now you can effectively choose. You can choose to continue living in our divided two-party country by either instituting a min voting method or simply by maintaining the status quo. Or you can choose to live in a united country by choosing to implement any of the max voting methods, which lets all voters freely choose or rate all the candidates independently of each other. It is your choice, but maybe now it can be an informed choice. And offering that to you today was my only goal. Thank you.